Through a series of historical accidents, Western society's music, instruments, history, theory, practice, pedagogy, consciousness has come to be dominated by a single tuning system, often called 12-tone equal temperament. There's 12-tone equal temperament. This dominance is so pervasive that it is often completely invisible. Students of music who wonder why these notes on the piano and not some others are all too often answered with, "Those are only the correct notes! Anything else is out of tune!" A world of more satisfying answers to this question unfolds to those looking for it. Millennia-old traditions of music tuned differently, surprising inquiries and insights into how we hear, proposals for new systems yet untried. This organization is for those who want to dream up and realize new, thoughtfully tuned music and contexts which support it. It is 2017, so it's time for musicians to know about this stuff. Wouldn't you agree? Misconceptions about microtonality, and the true answers summarized for you. These responses are based on the offhand comments I hear from people who know that I'm into this stuff, but just can't fathom why. Wow, microtonal music. Ugh, that must sound out of tune. Being in tune or out of tune depends on what world you are in, and this is established with context. Basically, if notes repeat, the ear gets used to those notes. It doesn't matter what scale they're from, so since we always hear the diatonic scale in the Western world, we're used to the, you guessed it, the diatonic scale. Microtonal music sounds awful! Some microtonal music will sound better and some worse than what most people are used to hearing. First of all, let me point out that no one who I have heard say microtonal music sounds awful actively tries to listen to microtonal music whatsoever, unless they're listening to things like Bach and they don't realize that it's tuned differently than equal temperament. It can sound awful, but it can also sound much better. For example, when instruments are tuned to the harmonic series, they'll often sound more clean and smooth, depending on the instrument. Besides, that opinion really doesn't say anything about the quality of the tuning, because keep in mind, if the composer or performer wants to create an ugly sound, certain select microtonal sounds might be good for usage. If you want things to sound as consonant or as dissonant as they can possibly be, if you actually want all of the sounds available, your only option is to be a microtonalist. Huge factors that come into play when making something sound concordant, or not, are timbre and just intonation, as well as melodic contour. Keep in mind that after listening to microtonal music for enough time, your ears become more able to digest the sounds of non-12 tunings, as they should be doing until cultural condition ruins it. People can even get used to the sound of a Zen harmonic tuning system within a single sitting of listening to it. The way you get used to 12-tone can also be the way you can get used to any other scale, through practice. Only then are you actually able to appreciate how good and how bad things can sound and what that truly means. Otherwise, you're trying to comprehend an infinite universe of sounds by analyzing one point on the graph, namely the 12-tone equal tempered point. Microtones, aren't those the same as quartertones? Microtones often refer to tuning systems that simply aren't 12-tone equal temperament, although the word often carries the connotation that the steps are smaller than a half step. The reason people use quartertones is because it's easy to play and easy to notate based on what most Western musicians already know. Some people would not call it Zen harmonic sounding because of how much overlap the quartertone structure has with 12-tone equal temperament. Usually Zen harmonic music drifts substantially from 12 equal in its structural implications. Tuning systems can use any mathematical values to dissonate pitch, and they don't have to be even remotely related to quartertones or 12-tone equal temperament, for that matter. For example, you could have 19-tone equal temperament. Watch this. Hey, look, I've got a 19-tone equal-tempered guitar. It's got 19 frets, you can count them. And so that's not quartertones. Let me play a 19-note chromatic scale for you, even though that's not the most interesting part about it. Diatonic scale. So, don't you dare watch this video and then think that quartertones and 19-tone equal temperament are the only microtonal tuning systems either. I'm just trying to demonstrate that there are more things in the world than just quartertones. There are unlimited possibilities, and a lot of them are extremely interesting. Microtonality, atonality, same thing. Repetition is all that is needed to establish a tonic. Microtonality allows you to use more nice scales than we don't have in 12-tone equal temperament. Scales with small numbers of notes that repeat in an intelligible way and establish tonality or a pitch center, depending on how diatonically focused you want your definitions to be. Here, let me play some music for you. You can hear the tonic, see? It's going back to the tonic over and over, and it's also microtonal, so there you go. You know, I guess the piano has been around forever and ever, and it's used all around the world, right? The Western tradition used mean tone and Pythagorean for much of its history, and no non-Western tradition has used it except as a theoretical way to eliminate the Pythagorean comma. 12-tone equal temperament has probably been around since about Beethoven's time. Theorists knew of it for thousands of years, but it didn't come into use until practical considerations made it extremely convenient for keyboard instruments. Piano keys are very sophisticated, so making fewer of them is the most effective way to proceed. And then 12-tone equal temperament is the smallest equal temperament that gives the player decent triads from the harmonic series. Now the triads we have in 12-tone equal temperament are out of tune with the harmonic series by an acceptable but noticeable amount. Like, you can still hear that as a major chord. It's just kind of a borderline between a perfectly tuned chord and a Pythagorean major chord. The Pythagorean one is the bad one, and the major chord is the good one. Plus, 12 notes fit under the hand so nicely. Man, playing microtonal music must be a lot more difficult than playing the music I hear every single day. Some scales are more difficult than others to learn. 12-tone is among one of the easier ones, but not necessarily the easiest in all circumstances. Only because you've been stuck in 12 equal for so long. That's literally the only reason it seems easier. It depends on the tuning system at hand. Some tuning systems are vastly harder, and some vastly easier. For example, singing barbershop in just intonation is easier than singing in equal temperament, because the voices have a chance to lock and ring. Tuning systems with smaller numbers of notes using unequal scales are the easiest to sing, because they allow you to hear a functional hierarchy, and the small number of notes allows you to memorize all of them. Think about singing in 7-tone equal temperament versus 41-tone serialism. One sounds a lot easier than the other, although 7-tone can be difficult because it's hard to stray from the perfectly tuned fourths and fifths that we're used to. We'll never have enough microtonal instruments! We easily have the capability to play and build microtonal instruments. Tuning smaller than 12 equal would be easier to build and sometimes to learn. Microtonal instruments are already widely available. It's just that they tend to be non-Western instruments, are expensive, or are considered unusual. It's also difficult for manufacturers to see a use for them, so they aren't commercialized properly. This is why I think that microtonal guitars are the future. Please watch this video for more details on that. Thanks for watching, and I hope you engage in Zen harmonic music. If you want to know how to play an 11-tone equal temperament in a really cost-effective way, cost under $3, super easy, watch this video. Thank you. There are more details in the description about more stuff.